But good morning, everybody. Good afternoon now. My name is Stephen Liedlich. I'm a partnership manager with the United Way of Central and Northeastern Connecticut. And welcome to our networking session. And the networking session is titled, What is Your Why? And it'll be hosted by Courtney Jinjika from KeyBank. Now, can everybody hear me okay? You can get a thumbs up from everybody. Make sure you can hear me. That's good. I'm still admitting more people into this meeting as I speak, so we still have more people joining us, and we've got about 25, 27 participants in the meeting right now. But I do want to start this meeting, relatively on time. But before I introduce Courtney Jinjika, I wanted to introduce KeyBank, because KeyBank is not only important to United Way and the mission and our mission at United Way, but KeyBank is important to me personally as well. That one of my very first bank accounts was when I was a freshman in college in Durham, New Hampshire, and my first bank account was at the KeyBank there. And I remember that the staff was so helpful to me. I was a freshman, I didn't know anything about banking, but I always knew that KeyBank was very, very helpful. And I know that KeyBank truly cares about our community, especially in the past few months. During this pandemic and this economic and health crisis, KeyBank has truly been essential, processing over 39,000 SBA loans to help keep people employed in Connecticut and throughout KeyBank's entire footprint. KeyBank has been so essential. Plus, the KeyBank Foundation has directed over $1 million towards COVID relief across their entire footprint. And we really want to thank Courtney Jinjika and the leadership at KeyBank for all of their efforts towards our community. Now, to introduce Courtney Jinjika recently received a promotion, yay Courtney, and she was recently promoted to the newly created position at KeyBank of East Region Retail Executive. And she is responsible for sales, service, and operation for Key's branch throughout Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, Hudson Valley, Metro New York, Pennsylvania, and even into Ohio. That is a massive footprint. And Courtney's 19-year career started with KeyBank as a teller in Seattle. Now, I lived in Seattle for 14 years, so that's just one of the many reasons why I like Courtney, because she's from Seattle. But there in Seattle, she advanced her career through many banking roles and of increasing leadership. And in 2017, Jinjika became regional retail leader for Connecticut and Massachusetts. Courtney serves on the board of the United Way of Central and Northeastern Connecticut and lives in Glastonbury. So everyone, please welcome Courtney Jinjika to discuss what is your why.
Thank you so much, Stephen. It's my pleasure to be here today and to get us all thinking about our why and maybe how that why is changing in this new virtual world. And part of our why, I know all of us share, is the work that United Way does, because we've all showed up to this great Power of the Purse event to help sponsor and fundraise for the work that United Way does. And one of the most important parts of the United Way work that aligns with KeyBank is how we think about financial wellness in our communities and helping our communities thrive. So thank you for the partnership, Stephen, the awesome introduction, and one day we're gonna have a retreat in Seattle for sure. So I am going to start by telling you how I think about my why, then I'm gonna walk you through how you could build your why. I'm gonna share some places on my timeline where I have taken my story and built my why, and then we're gonna open it up for discussion. So I want you all to be thinking about your why with the recent current events, different places in your life timeline where you built out your value system and your passions. So with that, I want to first frame how to think about your why and identifying your why. Many events and major life experiences could fit into how you think about your why. And when you're building relationships with people, places in your storyline where you're going to draw from. It could be a new job that you started. It could be nonprofit work that you're passionate about. It could be a new experience, say skydiving, something I want to do someday, an important date or relationship, and let's all draw on the current events that we're facing with COVID-19, equality issues that we're facing, and just leading out of this pandemic. So those are good places to start to think about what is it that gets you up every day and put your point in the map to lead forward. A big part of my why is the work that I do at KeyBank around financial wellness and helping communities thrive. I want to help other people, and the way that I can do that, my favorite day is when a client comes in and shares that they've had a life event, they're sending a kid to college, they've had a new baby, they bought a new car or house, and that KeyBank has been a part of that. So it's really cool to hear Stephen's story, that his first bank account was at KeyBank. That's part of how he thinks about banking and his financial wellness as he proceeded in life. So I'm going to be vulnerable here, and I'm going to draw from a few places on my timeline and how they've built me to be the leader that I am today, and why I'm so passionate about KeyBank and particularly Key for Women, and then let a few of you share and ask questions. So I'm going to start on my timeline in 2001. That's when I joined KeyBank as a teller, and almost immediately I thought, this company is different. I just felt a good vibe, if you will. My gut instinct was there was a culture of learning. There was a focus on clients, the leadership team, they stayed the course. I felt that immediately. So I progressed through the branch positions as Stephen shared. In 2003, I was a branch manager, and I heard about the Key for Women program. We were asked how we thought about women-owned businesses and how we could help them with their financial wellness as they built their businesses. So I said, as Courtney Jinjika does, I'll sign up for that. And I met the wonderful and beautiful Barb Smith, and we started to build out what that looked like. We had a lot of data points around women who started businesses, and more women and minority women were starting businesses. And to be frank and honest, many of them were struggling with the financial part of the business. They were passionate about their business, but maybe they weren't making as much money as they thought they were. So we would go to these businesses and we would help solve for those problems. And the way that we did that was through networking, empowerment, and financial education. And that program has been around since 2003. I didn't know exactly what Key for Women meant for me until much later in my timeline. In 2003, I will also share, just as another important event, I had an older sister, and she passed away in 2003. So that was quite an impactful event for me. She had a heart problem, and the big impact on me was they also thought it affected the rest of our family's health. So every 6 months, we had to go in and get our heart monitored, and the way you live your life under a health crisis is different than the way you live your life if you don't have a health crisis or potential health crisis. In 2005, I joined the internal network we have what is called KeyBank Business and Impact Networking Groups, and we have one that supports women in the workplace. And so I joined that program and was excited how it went along so nicely with Key for Women. So what we did internally and externally really paired together. In 2016 was a defining moment in my life, and in 2016, I had another sibling pass away. And at that moment, I was told, we know we now know what this health issue is, and we have a test that you can take in a few months to find out if you have this in your DNA. And so I was scared. I even grappled with, should I take the test? Do I want to know? And ultimately, one night I sat down and I wrote a list of what would I do if I do have it, and what would I do if I don't? And there was many alignments on that list, but there was lots of things that if I did have this, I couldn't go on a roller coaster. I couldn't go skydiving. I'd have to live near a major trauma center. And I also thought, because I had one living brother, what if I was the only one of the two of us that did or didn't have it? And so it was a very trying time. In 2016, right before Thanksgiving, I got the call. I was in a KeyBank branch. I picked up the phone. I fully expected them to say, you're going to need to come into our office and talk about this. And the lady said, I can give you the news over the phone. I went into the conference room, and I came out and was hugging everyone because I am the lucky one. I am the only sibling that does not have this disease. And so I get to live out my wish list of what would I do if I didn't have a health problem. And one day I might have another health problem, but I honestly woke up this morning, and I have woken up every day since November 2016, saying to myself, I've won the lottery. I get to sit in my bed and drink a cup of coffee if I want. I get to go play with my kids. I can go on a roller coaster later this summer. And so I played big. I really played big. And that was one of the things that I decided at that time. So the story continues to play out. And in 2017, KeyBank asked me to move across the country from Seattle, Washington to Connecticut, Massachusetts to run a region. That was a way to play big, right? It was scary, but with a wonderful husband and two loving boys and a lot of little situations that came up, we made that move. And I have loved New England. The people are great. I'd love to be able to share my story across the country and my why, and to build different communities. It has been a joy and a pleasure. But that's where I get to the point where I started to understand how much Key for Women meant to me, because Connecticut, Massachusetts was a new market for KeyBank. They didn't have Key for Women built out or the internal part of that. And I had an interesting experience for the first time in my life when I moved to my new neighborhood. Our neighbors came over, and I'll never forget, they looked my husband in the eye and they said, welcome to Connecticut. What company moved you here? And my husband said, oh, I moved with my wife. KeyBank moved her across the country. And they were very shocked. And I was very grateful at that moment that I had the Key for Women background and the understanding of that women can face these challenges. And the neighbor was embarrassed, and she since apologized, but I've encountered that a few times, and I've encountered people who don't want their spouse, male or female, to be successful. That's intimidating, and I'm very thankful for my husband. And let's not let this Power of the Purse event go on without addressing current events. So my husband is also from Zimbabwe, which means his skin is brown, and we have two children. I wish I had a picture, but most recently I had that mom moment where my 19-year-old son, picture this, he has the same skin tone as me, but he definitely has some of what would say features of an African American. and he has blue eyes. And he called me up one night and he said, "Mom, I am scared. I am treated differently." And he said, "What if this happened to my brother? What if this happened to my dad? We have to act." And now I'm developing out my new why around what I can do with our African heritage KeyBank that we have internally, and what most importantly, how we can act in our communities around that fear, and moving the work forward around inequality for all. So that's a little bit of insight into my why. I hope you will write down your timeline, and this will be a guiding principle for how you think about your story and being willing to share your parts of your story at the right time and the right place to help inspire others to act. And just a little bit about Key for Women. If you're interested in learning more, we definitely have certified advisors out in the Connecticut, Massachusetts community and all of New England and across the country. Since this is a virtual event, we have people from everywhere. You can go to key.com/women and participate in that complimentary program where we give advice and empowerment to women in business as well as leaders. So with that, I want to really have that moment where others are able to share. I ran this in front of a few people. I know I shared this a similar story in different parts of my timeline on an internal event that we had. So I wanted to open it up. I've posed these questions. Tell us your current why and your post-COVID why, but you could change that post-COVID to anything else that's currently going on. And then as a woman or our male counterpart allies, what are some assumptions people make about your why? And what impactful relationships, events, points of trauma have shaped your why? And we have one person that's already ready to share. So can we unmute Kimberly Morrow?
Okay, Kimberly, I'm going to unmute you so we can hear from you. Okay, Kimberly, you should be unmuted right now.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for this opportunity, Courtney. I was quite honored to be asked to share my why. As listening to our internal call the other day, it really made me think about my timeline. And when looking at my timeline and thinking about so many significant events, the one year that sticks out for me is 1989. It's a very significant year for me. At the young age of 15 and a very troubled teen, I was placed in a group home in Manchester, Connecticut, which is also known as the Village. I reflect on this as this was a very difficult, scary, and challenging time for me, but my first experience with a woman who was my very first mentor. She's one of the strongest women I know, and she ran a group home of 6 unruly girls. She showed us unconditional love, a lot of structure. She inspired me on so many different levels due to believing in me when I could not believe in myself. She provided guidance and the kick in the pants that I needed to be independent, strong, and showed me how rewarding it was to give back to society and my community. She gave me the foundation of building relationships, being responsible, loyal, and how to stand up for what I believed and chase down a dream. During my 3-year stay with her in 1990, she helped facilitate meeting my natural father for the first time at 17 years old. Super scary event and something that I reflect on quite deeply these days. Coaching me when I was broaching on my first real job in banking, and then in 1991 at the ripe age of 18 years old, obtaining my first apartment and venturing into that chapter of adulthood, all before graduating high school. This woman, I didn't realize at the time, had helped me form a solid relationship and the why behind why I have such a great passion to be a mentor and give back in my community in any chance that I can. Through the years, in different capacities, I had volunteered. But in 2014, at the age of 41, I had the opportunity to become a big brother, or excuse me, a big sister with Nutmeg Big Brothers Big Sisters. This was just one example of my passion to give back to society and my community and pay it forward for what my mentor did for me. Tasha, my little, and I have been paired for the last 6 years, and in 2019, we were both humbled honorees of the Victoria Soto Scholarship Award. Super humbled by this recognition, but so proud to be able to expose my little to this opportunity because this is what it was all about. I volunteer. My why to volunteer is to fill that void of so many significant and tragic events on my timeline. Volunteering in any capacity, mentoring and building relationships. I discovered my why as I dig deep into that painful timeline that has built me and continues to build me into the leader that I am today. I have had many mentors since 1989 and have mentored many, but most recently in 2020 at the age of 47, I approached Courtney and Becky Talley as I looked up to both of them as strong, inspiring women leaders and asked them both to be my mentor. They both agreed and also have inspired me to coach and mentor not only my peers, but my teammates. And I've also volunteered to participate in the Key Torrens mentoring program. We all have our own stories and the events that have molded us to do what we do. And oftentimes it takes a mentor, such as Courtney, to break it down. And as she has described to us today, to understand our why. I really empower everyone to dig into that timeline and find that why, because it is super inspiring and it allows us that time to heal and do and understand to do what we do. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing, and very brave of you to share that. A lot of our why is nonprofit work and mentoring, so that's great. We have one other person that has raised their hand to share, and that is Brandon Ojakian.
Okay, Brandon, I think you should be unmuted. We'd love to hear your story.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry about that. Courtney, thanks for sharing your why. And I know those of us that know you on the phone have probably could tell stories about how you've affected our why and touched us throughout our time at Key. But yeah, for me, it's funny because a lot of the things that Courtney talked about, I felt, personally, like I've had stories that related to. I come from a family where my grandparents had 4 kids and 50% of them were affected by an illness that has shaped our whole family and a lot of kind of what we do out in the community. And then my mother, a single mother raising me, started her own business doing what historically men had always done, painting, wallpapering, tiling in houses, and her name is Jackie. So she would go on these appointments to win business, and people would think a man named Jackie was coming to meet them. And she'd get there, and they'd be like, "Oh, we thought you were a man." She'd be like, "I'm not, but I'm faster, I'm cheaper, and I'll get the job done better." And she built her business just on reputation, but she had to overcome that initial prejudice. And so when I was thinking about what Courtney was saying about, her being one of the lucky ones in her family that didn't have the heart condition, and I think of my father and my brother and I not having MS like other family members of mine, it kind of related, I kind of felt similarly as a white man living in a privileged world during this current racial unrest. And my why at KeyBank is all about financial wellness for everybody and really helping people meet their goals, meet their needs, overcome things that have gotten in their way financially. But then outside of the bank, it's like, how can I use the privilege I've been given to make change so that everybody feels safe when they wake up in the morning, everybody feels equal, everybody has the same opportunities. And, that's for me really important. I just think that at this point, there are so many people like me that have just had the privilege of waking up and having everything they need and feeling comfortable and feeling safe. And if we don't take this opportunity now, to get out in the world and make a difference, then I think we're wasting an opportunity. You know, Courtney talked about her family, her children. I was in a protest in her town on Sunday, and I saw the community coming together in a way I've never seen that community come together. And I think that, you know, it's not going to stop when the protests go away. I think it's really important that whether, you know, we're fighting for racial equality, whether we're fighting for, you know, female-male equality. My father is a prominent political figure in Connecticut, and he's a gay man. So we've been part of this fight for pride for my entire life. I just think it's time that we wake up and we make sure everybody has the same opportunities, the same peace and the same safety every day. And that's really what's driving my why right now. And Courtney, you don't even know this, but the head of consumer banking for KeyBank, Victor Alexander, he sent me a personal email last night at 10 o'clock at night, just telling me why it's so important to him that we really strive for diversity and inclusion within our organization and our communities, and how he can't wait to get out into Connecticut and find out ways that KeyBank can make a difference in these communities. And I just thought it was so cool that he took the time to send me out in one of the branches an email. And I just think that's what's so great about KeyBank, and just fortunate to work for leaders like Victor and like yourself. And so just wanted to share that. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. This has been a great conversation, and we definitely could talk for hours. We want to join the feature event, but let's keep the conversation going. We all need to act now, and we all need to draw on our story and our why. And with that, I'll turn it to you, Stephen.
Well, thank you, Courtney. We really, really appreciate Courtney for leading this session. Also, I want to thank Brandon and Kim for your powerful stories that really, really added to our conversation. Now, our main event of Power of the Purse is coming up in just a few minutes at 12:30. If you don't have the link already in your inbox, I have put the link to the main event of Power of the Purse into the group chat. So just go ahead and click on that link, and we'll be meeting all back there in just a few minutes. And so, again, thank you, everybody. If you weren't here for my introduction, I'm Stephen Liedlich with United Way of Central and Northeastern Connecticut, and we really appreciate all of you for joining us for today's event. Thank you. So if any of you are still on the meeting, go ahead and click on the link that I sent into the group chat box. So it's 12:30, everybody. Our main event is starting. You'll have to click on the link that's either in your inbox that you received as an invite, or click on the link down below, pop-2020.com, to join our main event. You'll have to click on this link to join our main event, and I'll be ending this session just momentarily. So please, let's gather together back at our main event.